As a general rule of thumb, you should get in the habit of frequenting places where you might find people with similar interests as you. Tip number 3 for building a quality social circle or friend group, that is going to be consider joining clubs or social groups in your area. So a great way to expand your network is by joining groups in your town, city, or state with a focus in the area of interest that you choose. Hello world, Prince here, and welcome to the channel, Gentlemen and Scholars, where we discuss dating, style, personal development, and so much more. So, if you're new to the channel, definitely consider taking a look around, liking and subscribing. But, for today's topic, what we're going to be discussing is how to build a strong and quality social circle. And this goes for whether you're in a new city, whether you live in a small city, or if you just want better quality friends. Definitely make sure you watch this video until the end because we'll be giving some fantastic tips just for this. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into today's video. All right, so tip number 1 that I have for you guys is really you want to prepare yourself mentally for this new endeavor you'll be undertaking. All right, so in order to make the significant progress that you're aiming to make, it's going to require you to take some big steps, and really it may be a little uncomfortable at first. For a lot of you guys, that means that you will have to face and conquer your fear of making the first move in social settings. And of course, you came to the right place because I will be providing you with some simple tips, and really it shouldn't be long before you have a whole new network of prospective friends. It takes courage to show up and make the first move in social settings, but really there's not a ton to be afraid of because more than likely there are other people in this setting that are feeling just the way you are. So with that said, step outside of your comfort zone and embrace the process. Really, it can be very rewarding, the process of making new friends and having new and novel adventures along the way. And who knows, if you're lucky, you may meet your new best friend. Tip number 2 that I have for you guys, that is going to be to scan and understand your current environment. It will be advantageous to understand where you live because this will allow you to make better choices when it comes to developing your new network of friends. You'll want to pay close attention to the type of city you live in. Do you reside in a more rural area or do you live in a more large and robust city? Obviously, less populated areas makes it a little bit more difficult to come in contact with like-minded people, but don't be alarmed, it's not impossible. But if this does happen to be the case, it might be advantageous to consider, taking a drive to a more populated area within your state to increase your chances of reaching your squad goals. As a general rule of thumb, you should get in the habit of frequenting places where you might find people with similar interests as you. Tip number 3 for building a quality social circle or friend group, that is going to be consider joining clubs or social groups in your area. So a great way to expand your network is by joining groups in your town, city, or state with a focus in the area of interest that you choose. These are great because pretty much every person in the group has already established that they have the same interest as you, which makes it very easy and actually expected that you start a conversation with them. I know back in school, for me, the idea of a club or group, it really didn't resonate with me at the time. But really these are great because it gives you the opportunity to keep your hand on the pulse of the community and also meet some cool friends as well. For me, I feel my purpose is service, so I tend to find myself interacting with groups that have a focus on service. But if you have a particular interest or hobby that maybe you'd enjoy doing with a group of people rather than doing it alone, groups are a great way to start. And really, it's not that hard to find these groups. You can find them online on places like meetup.com, or you can just, search online for some more national groups. And what tends to happen once you get connected with one, it tends to spiral, and you'll start finding about other ones that are local to you. So definitely keep this in mind and definitely make sure you're utilizing this. Piggybacking on the aforementioned tip, Tip number 4 is going to be consider becoming a leader or active member in your group. Once you pass the trial period and establish that you really like a group, you've been coming, showing up consistently for weeks, consider inquiring to the leadership about, how you might get involved with the management and coordination of the group. And see, more often than not, groups are eager to acquire the free help, but it's not entirely free, because almost always you then gain access to a large and robust network of potential friends. And this happens almost immediately after you begin helping out on the back end, because you'll need to work collaboratively with other members to get things done, and this forces the need for interactions. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, subscribe to join the Gentlemen and Scholars family, and consider checking out the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for free resources, Gentlemen and Scholars merch, book recommendations, consultation services, and our free Gentlemen and Scholars Ultimate Handbook, where you'll learn personal development tips on how to build a successful life and become the gentleman of your dreams, style tips to develop an eye-catching, attractive, and unique personal avatar, and dating tips to attract, court, and keep the woman of your dreams. Visit the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for more. Now back to the video. All right, so tip number 5 for achieving your squad goals, that is going to be consider your realistic bandwidth. So I know a lot of you have aspirations of building a large and robust network of talented, charming, smart, and maybe even well-off friends, but do you really have time to manage all those relationships? In actuality, a lot of you watching this may not have the friends you want, not because of your social skills, but rather because you just don't have the time to manage all of those relationships. So it is important to keep in mind that relationships are a commitment, and therefore it is doubly important that you cut loose any relationships that are no longer serving you. When you hang on to these failing relationships, all you're doing is blocking yourself from your next blessing and preventing yourself from finding that new best friend. And you may need to sacrifice some other habits or commitments to make time for this piece in your life. That's just something you're gonna have to balance. But the important thing to recognize here is that relationships, especially in the beginning, take effort, because this is when they're most fragile. All right, so for tip number 6 on how to build a quality and robust friend or social group, that's going to be make a memorable introduction when you do meet someone with similar interests as you. All right, so what should your icebreaker be? Well, really the most important thing to be cognizant of here is that you'll want to take a genuine interest in the person that you're approaching and ask questions that they'll enjoy answering. Don't interject, let them finish their thought, and be curious. You want to get good at asking quality questions, and that there, gents, is the secret to not only making friends, but dating and people in general. Most people are consistently looking for opportunities to brag about their accomplishments or thinking myopically about themselves during the course of a conversation. Alternatively, this is the appeal of people who are actually successful and comfortable in their skin. They simply don't feel the need to brag about their possessions, women, or wealth because they actually are the image they are presenting to the world. Those that are struggling with deep-seated insecurities or are new to a certain lifestyle tend to do these things. A great book on this is written by the author Dale Carnegie. It's titled How to Win Friends and Influence People. Wait, I'll say that again. A great book on this is by the author Dale Carnegie, and it's entitled How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would highly encourage all of you gents to read this and apply this to your social situations, because if applied properly, I feel it will 10x your social life. So I'll go ahead and drop a link in the description down below. Definitely make sure you check this one out. Which brings me to tip number 7. And this is really about tapping into that social butterfly. So this is going to be, do not take yourself too seriously. Feel free to be a little humorous, obviously not over the top when you first meet someone, but generally speaking, a person that has a little bit of a silly side is seen as more attractive to others. And if someone makes a joke, don't always assume negatively that they were making a dig towards you. Give them the same grace that you might give yourself in that situation. And if they do just so happen to make a dig, it's always best to keep calm and come back with a more clever and witty comeback. Tip number 8, that's going to be quality over quantity. how to curate your social circle. So remember, gents, since we all have limited bandwidth, we should be very selective in the relationships we choose to cultivate. Think critically about the amount of time that you actually have for relationships. And again, if a relationship is no longer serving you, let them go with love and allow them to find somebody else that's maybe a little more aligned. After all, every relationship is an opportunity for growth. As a side note, a great way to manage multiple relationships at once, especially if you have limited bandwidth, is to hang out in groups rather than one-on-one interactions. So tip number 9 is around how to bring value to your relationships. Be a high value friend. Become a connector. Always be looking for ways and opportunities to connect friends to other like-minded individuals. These friends will be thankful and also recognize you as someone that's high value, and they'll value your relationship even more. Again, every relationship you have is an opportunity for growth, so always be looking for opportunities and ways to share your knowledge and any information that you have with the group. Ask questions that others will enjoy answering and try to avoid touchy subjects. Talk less and listen a lot more, and you'll be surprised at how attractive you become to others. And lastly, tip number 10 for how to become a more attractive man, well, that is going to be to stay focused on your mission and purpose. See, women and people in general love to be around other people that are focused and ambitious. Always make sure that the creator and your mission are your #1 focus. Work towards this every day, even if you're only taking baby steps. And you'll be surprised that some of these attractive qualities will begin to take shape in your life. And if you don't know what your purpose and mission is just yet, don't worry, it's okay. I would just spend time exploring hobbies and interests that you have until you find something that clicks. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, gents. If you do have any questions for me, definitely feel free to give a shout. Definitely make sure you like and subscribe, and let me know down below what you guys think about this one. Did I miss any tips that you use and have found that it helps you to become more attractive? Definitely let us know down below. I will leave those links to the aforementioned items in the description below, so definitely take a look there. And until next time, gentlemen and scholars. Hey gents, hope you enjoyed the video. And check out the Gentlemen and Scholars Club website for our free Gentlemen and Scholars Ultimate Handbook, free resources, book recommendations, consultation services, and some pretty slick Gentlemen and Scholars merch. GNS hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, notebooks, and so much more. Until next time, gentlemen and scholars.